Just when you think you've seen everything from José Ramírez, he does something new that surprises you and causes you to run out of words to describe him once again. We've been saying all year he hasn't gotten on a heater yet. After Monday night's performance, it's about to happen.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's a running wild Tuesday morning, Tuesday edition of Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We talk about your Cleveland Guardians every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians every day. We cover the Guardians from the majors to the minors and the draft and everything in between and all things José Ramírez related. I'm Justin Lada. I have been watching the Cleveland Guardians baseball my entire life. I have been writing about their minor league system since 2007. You can find my minor league analysis on the Guardians at the News Herald, the Morning Journal, next year in Cleveland.substack.com, and here 5 days a week with my friend and co-host, Jeff Ellis.
Had to unmute first there. I am Jeff Ellis, one of your two co-hosts here. One of the original co-hosts that Locked On, for some reason, reached out to when they wanted to expand into baseball. One of the first 10 people they brought in. I think we've passed 1,500 episodes and 1 million views on YouTube later. And still going strong. Before that, I was a nationally recognized analyst at Scout 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. Got to work some big names in the field back in the day and get to work with the biggest name in the field now with Justin here. And wow. I don't know, it's always easier to do the show and more fun when you get a game like this. Let's be honest, like, we always enjoy doing the show, but it's more fun after this. But before we dive into everything else, I got to say big shout out. Thank you to all of our everydayers, and thank you for making today's episode your first listen. You have a lot of places you can listen, but thanks for making it your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. Thank you.
Yes. Shout out to Mike McCarthy, who I ran into at the game on Monday at the stadium. Stopped me, and we were talking a little bit before, and listens every day. So we appreciate the shout out, and he wanted to shout out the show, and happy to give it to him. Happy to give it to any of our everydayers here on Locked On Guardians. On today's show, the Guardians made a move at shortstop. We'll talk about whether or not that is the final move for the year, and we'll talk about the move the Guardians made to send Brian Rocchio down. Team resilience shows up again. Ben Lively comes out in this one. The Guardians get a bunch of heroes out of the bullpen. They get enough offense. They continue to show a lot of resilience. But we'll start today's episode off with José Ramírez doing something that, I think is kind of surprising, that he hasn't done in quite a while, but also just playing baseball in ways that might shock you, and especially the way he did it on Monday night, I'll say. Before we get into all that, today's episode of Locked On Guardians is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go check that out. 3 steals by José Ramírez. Could have had a fourth if they called it, I think, a wild pitch or a pass ball. I'm not sure. I think what's most amazing about the Guardians' performance on Monday, stealing bases, José 3 times. They pulled off a double steal late in the game. José stole third base twice. Hard to do, especially with the lefty up behind you. And he did it off William Contreras, who's throwing out 41% of base stealers. The league average is 23%. He is almost doubling throwing out runners in baseball. It's hard. It is so much harder now for catchers to throw runners out because of the new rules, the pitch clock and the pickoff moves. And José stole third base twice on him with a lefty up, and he also stole second once. They ran wild on him. I don't know how the Guardians ran wild on him. They must have picked something up on him, because then it must be something nobody else has, because that guy throws everybody out. And that's just amazing for José, who, you keep worrying about him slowing down as he gets older and not wanting to run as much because of the fear of injury. He had the injury earlier this year where he had the awkward slide and he was out for a couple of days with a wrist. He keeps running. Now he's got 12 steals, and he's also I believe he now has, not that this matters for steals for José, because he's never needed a late speed. But Jeff, his sprint speed this year, it's as high as it's ever been. It's as fast as it's ever been at age 32.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I feel like his numbers slow down as the year goes on. He definitely starts at a high mark and the speed ticks down a little. So I'll be curious to see if it sustains. But he doesn't need it, as you said. Like, he is a player who gets by on guile. They definitely saw something specifically with Peralta that could stand out in terms of stealing bases. I think my favorite was just you got Santana up, and this is the upside of Santana hitting behind him, right? Is the patience, like steal second, and then I think it was next pitch. Yeah. Next pitch, he steals third, and then Santana walked after that, I believe, right? Like, he got to third, Santana walked, and then you had
depends on which one.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, but I feel like after the double steal was then when they loaded the bases for Gabby, where Santana.
No, it was late in the game. The double steal was late in the game.
Was it? Okay. But he was going through. And just he's also been the 4 straight games of one of the 3 stars. So we are starting to see that heater. We are starting to see it pick up for him. He's tied Quan for the team lead for most 3-star performances so far this year for me. He's turning on. He's beating Jose, and that's why there were people in the comments being like, "Oh, maybe he's cooked." And I'm like, "Listen, I was worried about that last year. I learned my lesson. Now I'm just going to shut the hell up." I think he's that player you're just going to lose when you have that thought process. So I think that, like, you just kind of, you let it all go. No, so it was, he did. He stole second, stole third, Santana walked, Manzardo strikeout, Naylor walked, Gabby double. So that set up that one. So that was, was a big moment in the game that he helped set up there and maybe help make Peralta shaky with those two. But you just don't doubt Jose. Like, he's going to go down as one of the greatest Cleveland Guardians players of my lifetime. Big chunk of that is because he stayed. Like, let's be honest, like, most guys don't choose to stay. That alone should elevate him. He chose to stay.
Always does.
And then you have to add everything else in. But what a game for him. And the heart of the order actually did a nice job in this game. For everyone was kind of freaking out in the comments. And maybe I'm jumping ahead a bit, but like, about the bad weekend. They just crushed the Nationals. They did pretty well the week before that, hitting wise. This game they scored a lot of runs. Heart of the order, everyone reached base twice. Maybe it's just facing a tough Phillies team. Maybe Zach Wheeler's just really good. Like, maybe there's but this is why we talk about, like, being a little more patient and kind of seeing how things go, because offense rebounded pretty well after now it's 4 of the last 5 games they've scored 5 or more runs. I'll take that. Actually,
Peralta's no slouch himself. I mean, he's
really good.
Yeah, he's off to one of the best starts of his career so far. Everything on his Savant profile is red. He's striking out plenty of dudes. He's not walking as much as he did a year ago. Yeah, he's a really good pitcher. And the Guardians ran on him, and they ran on William Contreras. They worked some walks against Peralta, who will walk some guys. But that's the key for the Guardians. When they draw walks, they can do good things. But they didn't get, like Gabby got the big hit in this game. The double that I will say, he scorched that ball to center field. But I will say the wind probably gave him a little bit of a benefit there. That was a very wind-blown ball. Yeah. The wind was very wild at Progressive Field tonight.
Yeah,
but he
affected Churio, who's normally gets to something like that.
I thought he was going to catch that, and it just kept carrying. So I will say the wind might have helped him out a little bit there, but they set that up for bases loaded. The walks, the steals, that's how this offense goes. And when you can't score runs the way you wanted to, they hit a couple home runs Friday off of Aaron Nola, and then the offense went silent. They had no opportunities over the weekend. They really didn't generate any opportunities themselves. So that's why it was good for them to come out and steal bases the way they did, which, again, I'm just saying, it's very bold they were able to do it against William Contreras. Like, it's one thing to say, okay, we're not getting as many hits, we're not hitting the home runs, we've got to run the bases, we've got to steal bases and make things happen for ourselves when we get on base. That's all well and good, but it's easy to do when you can exploit the catcher who's not very good. That isn't the case with William Contreras. Like, that's why it was so impressive what A, Jose did, and B, the Guardians just did overall. I'm guessing Sandy Alomar had something on him, because Sandy Alomar is usually the one that usually it's on pitchers, but I don't know how. Maybe it was Peralta, or maybe it was Peralta's fault and not Contreras' fault. But either way, like, that's still, I haven't seen Peralta's home to first or pitch time to home, but maybe that was where Alomar saw the exploitation. Maybe with Peralta on the mound, Contreras doesn't throw as many runners out because he's slow. I don't know, but he's a good pitcher, and they hit him just enough, and they ran just enough, which was good. And I think the at-bat for Jose, like we were saying that Jose has not been on a heater yet this year. He has not really, like, he's been solid, right? He's been okay. He's not been bad. I mean, we grade Jose, I think, differently than we grade any other hitters. Like, he had a 128 WRC plus coming into Monday night, I think, and he's now at a 131. And okay, 28% above league average. Great. We'll take that from anybody. But when you're Jose Ramirez, everyone's expecting what, 40, 50, right? Like it's a different grading scale for Jose Ramirez. So he hasn't quite had the Jose Ramirez hot streak yet this year. I think one is coming, Jeff. He had an at-bat tonight on Monday night against Freddie Peralta where he was down 0-2. He took a changeup for a called strike. He swung at a bad breaking ball out of the zone. And after that, he took a couple pitches that weren't very good. And he saw 1, 2, 3, 4 changeups from Freddie Peralta in that at-bat that he took for balls or he fouled off. And we know the changeup is a pitch that eats up Jose Ramirez, right? He ended up working a walk in that at-bat. When you have Jose Ramirez having 9 pitch at-bats, when he's walking, when he's spoiling pitches, when he's not, diving and missing at the changeup, and he's running the bases, that's how you know Jose Ramirez is about to get hot. So I think we're about to see a really good extended hot stretch from Jose Ramirez for the first time this year based off of that.
Yeah, and I got to throw one more quick nugget of fun. Just how about the fact that this is the 2 highest caught stealing percentage catchers in the American and the National League. Now Naylor is 5th in baseball, but he's first in the American League, and there were 8 stolen bases in this game. Of course, when the 2 best in each league come together, that's what you expect is a stolen base party.
Yeah, the Guardians, they don't make sense. A lot of things they've done this year don't make sense. If you feel like you figured this team out, I challenge you to think again, because we don't have this team figured out. They do weird stuff every single night, every single week, I swear. And the part of that is due to being a very resilient team. Ben Lively had to leave the start before the 4th inning. The Guardians could have crumbled. They did not. We'll talk about who stepped up for the Guardians in the wake of that, what might happen next for the Guardians at starting pitcher for Ben Lively's spot, as well as shortstop later on today's episode of Locked On Guardians. The NBA playoffs, they are in full swing. Weird things are happening in the NBA playoffs. Every night delivers highlight-worthy performances. Momentum shifts, you got that. Can't miss moments? Yes, check. Whether it's a game-winning shot, a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action at FanDuel. It makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, same-game parlays. Fans have more ways, like you, to play smart and win big. Let's go over to baseball for tomorrow. Let's just start with the Guardians, because I got to be honest, I don't know if I can think about betting on the Cavs down 3-1 and all the guys that are injured for them. I just don't have it in me to bet with my heart and not make a smart one. But the Guardians on Tuesday night are favored by 1.5. They have Quinn Priester going for the Brewers, Logan Allen for the Guardians. The over-under is 9 runs. Now, the Brewers offense has not been great this year. The Guardians are streaky, but Quinn Priester has not been good this year. Logan Allen has had some struggles this year. So normally I would say take the under on 9, but I don't know. I'm feeling a little froggy. I think we might see 10 runs in this game. I think we might, just the way the pitchers have been lately. So check that out for yourself. If you are new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you are going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. I could not believe, Jeff, that I saw Ben Lively. He was pitching okay. He was doing pretty good in that game. I was at the game. I looked up, and all of a sudden Ben Lively's walking off with the trainer, and I was like, all right, that's weird. Like he wasn't showing any signs during the game of rust. Like he walked 2 guys. There were some command issues at points, but nothing that really stood out. The velocity was fine. I just didn't see anything that really struck me as odd. And then all of a sudden he's walking off the mound. And come to find out, like the reason he came out against Washington last week after 65 pitches is he's been dealing with some forearm inflammation, and then it just didn't go well for him tonight. He couldn't shake it.
Not ideal.
No, it's not ideal. Not what you want. Forearm, anything forearm. I mean, anything for your arm, pitching arm, right? Forearm, elbow, shoulder. Those are all bad things. Yeah, all of
it's bad.
It's all bad. Yeah. So hopefully Ben Lively's okay, because he has been the steady Eddie in this rotation. He was pitching fine in this game. It was 0-0 to 3 innings. And he came out for the third inning, warmed up, was out of the game. That could have easily crumbled the Guardians. Like, this is a team that has had starting pitching issues. The bullpen hasn't been as great this year as it was a year ago. It's been okay, but it's been good. Just, not the same level as a year ago, but the starting pitching's not been good. And you're putting a lot of pressure on that bullpen. Thank goodness over the weekend, Tanner and Luis Ortiz on Saturday and Sunday were really good because the bullpen had a little time to relax. This could have easily crushed the Guardians. So, like, a lot of teams have guys relievers come in after injuries. They're not warmed up and they're sprinting into action. Jacob Junis came in, gave up a walk and 2 hits, but worked his way out of it over an inning. And then Kolby Allard.
I was gonna say he's the same. He's bailed him out 3 times now. Like, I mean, just give him that long man role and forget about it at this point.
Yeah, is he this year's Pedro Avila? Like, that might be what he is this year. Like,
Avila wasn't this good in that role. Like, let's be honest too. And fair, like Avila was,
I think Avila struck more guys out.
He did, but like he wasn't like consistently like 3 innings, no earned runs. Like, I think.
They never asked him to go that long. He was mostly a 2.
I know, but it's yeah. I'm not saying that to ding Avila, though. All of Major League Baseball dinged him because no one thought he was worth playing in the big league, so he ended up over.
I know,
in Asia, but Allard has been a revelation to me. Like, he has just come in and done his job, and it almost makes me wonder. I know one of our listeners brought this up. It's like, is there a world where Kolby Allard and Ben Lively could be a natural? Like, Allard is a opener, Lively is a follower. You go lefty righty matchup, and maybe you could get 7 out of those 2 combined every time. Save your bullpen on the day. It's like he's, and then maybe have him pitch 1 other day, 2 other days a week. Maybe type of situation depending on how you use him. But like, I don't know. He is one of the. I don't want to say he's the most pleasant surprise, but he's got to be one of the most pleasant surprises this year because you and I both thought, oh, maybe he'll make this team out of camp as a long man, and we just didn't have any. Like, he's there to be there while guys are hurt, and he didn't make the team. But once he got up, he's done everything that's been asked of him and more.
Yeah, and he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Like, remember after the start against Boston, he came in and saved them in the blowout of the second half of the doubleheader. And they were like, we don't want to DFA him because, he did a good job for us. And I was like, well, that's not that. Right. And I was like, well, that's not a great way to look at it because you got to do what's best for the team, not what's best for the player. I understand you want to reward the player, but turns out good decision because he's really pulled their fat out of the fryer a couple times with pitching. I'm just stunned because, like, I'm looking at his numbers right now. His fastball was putrid last year. I mean, it got destroyed. It was one of the worst pitches in baseball last year. He isn't throwing any harder this year, but the numbers are fantastic. Expected numbers, the actual numbers, nobody's hitting his fastball. Same velocity, less spin this year. Very, very minimal increased extension on it.
It's not getting a lot. He was. It's not getting
a lot of whips. It's not. Yeah, it's 0.2. It's barely over an inch. It's the cutter. Like, I'm looking at the cutter.
Yeah.
Last year he threw a cutter 17% of the time. This year it's 28% of the time. And his cutter, everybody on the Guardians throws a cutter, right? Yeah. 091 batting average, 281 expected batting average. So no one's hitting the cutter, but the expected stats stink on the cutter, but no one's hitting it. So, or he's just getting lucky off it. I don't know. The curveball's been pretty good. I don't know what they're doing with him. This is some devil magic with Kolby Allard, but he has been the MVP of that bullpen. Like, he has bailed them out multiple times. And I can't tell you how important that is for, like, the clubhouse and all that kind of stuff, that you have guys that do the dirty work, like Kolby Allard. Like, those are the unsexy jobs on the roster, right? It's the Will Wilsons or the Austin Hedges or the Kolby Allard role. Like, it's not a high profile role, but it's so important to the clubhouse. And that people like that, and finding roles like that and rewarding guys like that, even when it might not be the best team decision. Mm-hmm. It is the best team decision. That's how I think the Guardians are so good at overcoming challenges. Like, every time I think something's not going to work for them, it does. They are team resilience. They really are. This is the kind of guy I think that shows you their team resilience. It's Kolby Allard and Jacob Junis jumping into action there and holding the game tight, giving them a chance to win on a night they're facing an ace and their number 3 is knocked out of the game with an injury, and you're bringing in the 6th and 7th guy in the bullpen.
Yeah, I think, something I mentioned before with, like, Gabriel Arias applies here with Kolby Allard, which is, like, I think we get so used to looking at, like, big improvements. And the thing with Allard is it's like, okay, so he's got a little bit more extension. He's got a slight change in arm angle. Like, it's a lot of small things, and it's it's a bunch of incremental changes, increasing the cutter, right? Like you can see that there's all these small little changes from this year to last. And I think that's where the team is doing really well. It's like, talk about Gabriel Arias, like, his defense continues to look spectacular. I haven't dived in the numbers, but I feel like every game he impresses me more and more defensively. And he had, the biggest hit of the game. Let's be very honest about that. But like, there's no huge breakout in terms of the advanced statistical profile, but there's a lot of small improvements. And I feel like that might be the way that this team can find a little bit more, is finding the guys like, oh, we see 5 different ways we can make them just a little bit better. And then those 5 small things become a big thing. Now, again, I don't think Kolby Allard is going to maintain a 1.2 ERA and is going to, become, the single greatest long man in the history of baseball. But can he be a major leaguer? I loved him coming out of high school. He was one of my early draft crushes. He was someone I absolutely wanted the Guardians draft in his draft year. I thought he should have been a top 10 pick. He just didn't develop properly. Injuries really affected him. Coming up, he got waylaid by them, was never the pitcher I thought he was going to be due to that. But it's fun to watch, and you have to give him all of his roses because he's been spectacular.
Fun fact, Kolby Allard played high school baseball against one Tanner Bybee. They were in the same area.
Really?
They were, I think Tanner, I heard from a friend that Tanner was a sophomore and Allard was a senior. They played against each other in high school. So
because they drafted Tanner in 21, right?
Yes, 21.
I don't know how. I guess because Allard was a high school kid in 15. I just don't know how that would have.
I don't know. I heard from a friend that Tanner was a sophomore.
Maybe.
And was
I guess that would make sense because Tanner essentially pitched 4 years in college. It takes him back to 17. Yeah, never mind. That makes sense. Math. I'm math. Yeah.
Usually I'm the one that's out on math here. All right. We got to talk more about Gabriel Arias in the next segment. We got to talk about shortstop. The Guardians made a move to send Brayan Rocchio down. Gabriel Arias assumes the shortstop, and he celebrates with a big hit in this game. We'll talk about if shortstop is settled for the year and this move and the implications of that, and what they're going to do with Will Brennan in the meantime. So stick around for that on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Thanks for making Locked On Guardians your first listen every day and wherever you get podcasts. We're on YouTube. Make sure you hit the bell. Never miss a reaction video. Never miss an episode. Auto download on Spotify, Apple, Overcast, all those fun places you get podcasts. Never miss an episode in your feed. And if you like what you're hearing, check out the MLB Squad Show. It's where our hosts around the league, around the Locked On Podcast Network from baseball, get together and they just yap about the teams. We do power rankings, different storylines. We're all poking fun at each other and bringing our hottest takes. It's a good time. So make sure every Tuesday you are downloading automatically on audio or video to make sure you get the MLB Locked On MLB Squad Show in your feed every Tuesday. Also, check out our Insiders group too. Become an insider. Join subtext.com/LockedOnGuardians. You heard first about the Brayan Rocchio, Will Brennan swap on Monday. I texted all of our insiders about that first. Same with the Ben Lively issue as well as some bonus content, mailbags, and written content. Jeff's got draft data in there. I've got my 90-page prospect handbook out there for our insiders, all that kind of fun stuff. So check that out as well. All right. Gabriel Arias celebrated winning, I guess we'll call it winning the shortstop job. Like he persevered. He's the shortstop now. He came into camp battling for second base, and he wound up being shortstop. Which is where he wanted to be all along, truthfully.
Yeah.
Because Brayan Rocchio is going back to AAA. The Guardians said, in a nice way, Brayan Rocchio's got to work on everything. He's got to work on his hitting, his defense, his base running. He literally said everything. Yeah. I don't think that's a stretch. Any of our everydayers probably are like, yeah, that makes sense. We talked about
when they say nothing is working for you. That's pretty darning.
Yeah. They were saying that he's got to work through some things, and there was just no at-bats for him to do it. So they decided to send him down, so he'll play every day in AAA at shortstop and work on things. But credit to Gabby. I mean, a lot of maturity and growth from him this year on and off the field, working really hard. Not that he wasn't a hard worker before, but I think he took it to a new level this year. Obviously out of options, and that could have been a scary thing for him. And, that's a big inflection point in your career as a baseball player. 1 out, and he earned the second base job. I mean, Juan Brito didn't have a great spring, and Arias was out of options. So I don't want to say he won it by default, but he definitely had the leg up, I would say. And now Brito's hurt, but Gabby's played well. Like, we said the second base competition would probably extend into the regular season, and it turns out it really didn't. It was the shortstop competition that extended on. So, yeah, Gabby's been great defensively at short. I don't know if Gabby's going to keep this up the whole year in terms of offense. The defense, I think we know will be fine. He may or may not. He might always be a streaky hitter as a shortstop, as a hitter. There are good things in there. We're seeing the good things right now. There's going to be ebbs and flows. I'm going to say, though, Gabriel Arias ends the year at shortstop for them. I don't see Rocchio coming back just because I don't believe that any change he's going to make is going to work, or whatever changes he can make. I don't think they're going to be impactful enough. So I would not be surprised if we are sitting here on September 12th and Gabriel Arias has been the shortstop all year.
There are 11 shortstops in baseball with a WRC plus over 100 and a positive defensive metric. And Gabriel Arias is one of those. As everyone expected, the highest WRC plus for shortstop is Josh Smith of Texas.
Geraldo Perdomo, somewhere in there?
Perdomo's fifth. But the other interesting thing, too, is if you go look at the numbers, the shortstop Gabriel Arias most resembles statistically right now is Gunnar Henderson. Go look at the lines. They are near identical lines in terms of walk rate, in terms of K rate, in terms of BABIP, in terms of home runs, in terms of batting average. Henderson's got a little bit more overall slug, but those two are, very close. Now, Henderson's got a 120 to Gabby's 110 WRC plus, but I think that's also, like I said, a little more power. But that's the guy he's most closely resembling. Did we ever think we'd say those words? No. And that's partially because Henderson's had for
maybe
him
4 years ago.
Yeah. But I don't even think I would have said that 4 years ago. I liked Gabby a lot. Don't get me wrong, but I was always a Henderson guy. But yeah, it just, just for those who are curious, Smith, Lindor, Witt, Wilson, Perdomo, Crawford, Pena, Betts, Henderson, Turner, Volpe, Arias, Swanson, Bichette, Sweeney. Those are the guys over 100 WRC plus. That's not a lot. I'm not talking Xander Bogaerts. I'm not talking Ellie De La Cruz. I'm not talking Willie Adames. Like, it's a group that, to have someone performing at that level is a big help. And I always see in the comments, this team only has 3 hitters. And yeah, he's streaky, but like, let's not discount the guys who are performing well. And Gabby is performing well. Like I said, there's some question marks in that profile, but like, I mean, I always said defense never slumps, but then Rocchio maybe was trying to prove me wrong, but I don't know. And Gabby runs better.
Defense was never good.
I don't know. Like, the metrics loved Rocchio a year ago, and it's gonna be hard for Rocchio because there's not a plus trait outside of like the defensive metrics. So I don't see a pathway for him back. I know a lot of people have said, oh, well, they should trade him. I mean, I don't know what the value is in a guy who showed nothing. Like, literally, when the GM says that he has to work on it says hitting, fielding, running, basically all facets. Like, I think he said all facets after that, or some equivalency. Not an exact quote, but like, when that is being said, that's bad. That's really bad. So it's Gabby's, and then we'll see. Like, Schneemann will get his opportunity at second. Eventually, I think Juan Brito will get an opportunity. I think Angel,
healthy, yeah.
There's a world where finally Chase DeLauder gets healthy and maybe nails down right field. We can all dream, right? Side note, MLB.com just dropped him massively in the ranks due to health. But if that's the case, then maybe Angel can play second. Like, they still have a lot of options, a lot of depth. I'm not freaking out. I did like that Will Brennan, the most positive thing they said is, the guys like having him here.
Well, yeah, let's talk about Will Brennan before we get out of here on this episode. The move there was very confusing because I was like, all right, so you've got Kwan, you've got Martinez, you've got Noel, Jones, Schneemann plays outfield. You've got just a ton of outfielders. And I'm like, all right, how is this going to work? Because he's a lefty, Jones is a lefty. You've already got a lot of left-handed hitters. Schneemann's a lefty. It's very, very weird. So they said Brennan's going to play against, they're going to have Jones and Brennan out there. That's less at bats for John Kenzie Noel. He'll only get left bats against righties or lefties. And, Martinez is going to have to work in a second with Schneemann, I guess. And they use Will Wilson as a pinch hitter. Like, they're just going to maximize their bench, I suppose. And I don't know where the at-bats come from. And to me, I don't think Will Brennan's made any changes. Like, Stephen Vogt said that, Will Brennan's hitting the ball to the pull side more in the minors. He has the exact same pull percentage this year as he did a year ago. So I don't really know. It's the same pull percentage as a year ago. It's actually down. So I don't know where that comes from. I don't really know where that's coming from. He's not hitting more fly balls. Like, it's like, it's a 4% increase in fly balls. So maybe it's incremental improvements. Like you said, maybe it's incremental improvements. I don't know. We'll see. I've always been a big Will Brennan guy, but Stephen Vogt said he's got to work on swing decisions. He's got to lay off the junk. He's got to hit the fastball. And that's been the problem for Will Brennan in his career. So I don't know where the at-bats come from. I don't know how they're going to play it out, but I will say Will Brennan, definitely a better offensive, defensive, base running asset to your team than Brian Rocchio was. So it's an upgrade no matter what. It's a weird fit. So on the pitching side of things, so if anybody's wondering, if Ben Lively can't make his next start, which would be scheduled for Saturday right now, the Guardians do have an off day Thursday, so they could just kind of push everybody up and just skip that spot in the rotation. If not, Slade Cecconi pitched on Sunday, so he would be on 6 days rest for Saturday. He's on the 40-man roster. That seems like the most obvious move there. You could put Kolby Allard in his spot if you really wanted to. I think he's stretched out enough to go 4 or 5 innings. If you wanted to go that route, I wouldn't, just because he's been too valuable in that role. The other option after that is Parker Messick. He pitches Friday. He pitched last Saturday, so he'd be on a week of rest by then. But he's not on the 40-man roster, and I don't know how they create a spot at this point.
Cody Bolton would probably be the most likely guy. Your roster fodder are essentially it's Bolton, Zach Kent, and Will Wilson are your 3 most likely roster fodders.
That's fair. If Lively can't go and they don't want to skip this, they don't want to skip the spot in the rotation on Saturday, I would probably bet on Cecconi. He pitched, I think he threw 68 pitches on Sunday, so he got 4 or 5 innings, so he's about stretched out enough where they could go 5 innings with him, and I would keep Allard in the long relief role just because he saved them too many times. I understand you might want to reward him. And who do they have Saturday coming in? Who are they playing? They're going out.
Aren't they on the road? Isn't that the
they're on the road. I'm sorry, I haven't looked on the
10-game road.
That's stretch. The Reds. That's the Reds.
That's right.
On Saturday at Cincinnati. Yeah, I'd probably go Cecconi. That'd be my guess.
Because it's Reds into Twins. I knew Twins was next. I forgot about the Reds. Reds having a rough year. But yeah, it's I think Cecconi makes the most sense. I got to be honest. Messick though, like I said, Cody Bolton. I'm not sure if he's really some. It'd be fun.
Either way, it's a good option to have. Yeah, I think they're both options.
I think it's one of those things too. Like I'd have to really do a deep dive, see what the Reds are, if they have a definitive split advantage you could pull, and that's probably the separator there.
Yeah, Cecconi's got major league experience, so that's always going to help too. So we'll see. The Guardians will get more results on Ben Lively today, so we'll hear more news. We didn't get a chance to talk about the Guardians' weird defensive season overall. Might get less weird now with Gabby playing short, but we want to get into that. So if there's not any more big news from the Guardians, roster moves, injuries, we'll get into that on Wednesday show, I should say, and Guardians Brewers Game 2. So come back for that tomorrow.
And thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily, hit the bell. You know the drill. Thank you all.